Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another part of the Flutter BMI calculator. So the last time we left off here, so if we make a reference to our design, we are left with the slider here to basically complete the screen. Okay, so let's get on with that. So if we head on back to the home screen, we would see so this BMI card, which refers to the weight, that's 75, so that's this. So right after this card, this BMI card, we need to head on down into the column. So this is the row that holds these two. So we need to go into the column. So that is down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a size box so that we can get some space. So size box, and we need to give a height, and this height, we can get the height from our Figma file. So I'm going to select this and just check that, and that's 32. So we are going to enter 32 point, and since this is height, we'll use the H property right here. I mean to do that. So the next thing is to build the slider, and if you look at the design, we do have a very similar configuration to this. Okay, we have like a height, so you can see we have a value, and you notice we do have this here, and then we have the slider. So we can configure the BMI card to actually be 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure the BMI card to accept this second parameter, and so we would have like years here, and would have like the weight in kilograms, and then this will be in centimeters. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and then we do that. So if I just go ahead and I type in my BMI card, I'll be asked to provide like the title, the value, and all of that. But before I use this, I actually want to go to the class and then configure it. So I'll go to the BMI card class, which we created the last time. This is all of it. So one of the first things I would want to do is for the text value. Okay, so that will be this. I'm going to wrap this text with a row, just like so. And then at the end of that text, so since we're in a row, I can add another thing. So here, I'm going to add another text widget. And then inside here, we can have something like, in the case, like this centimeter. Okay, so if I save this, you notice we have the centimeters showing here. Okay, and just to make you see that, I'm going to grab this text style effect, and I'll just paste it here, and then I'll make a few changes to this, add a comma at the end, and then here the weight is fine, the font size can be 16, and I think that's okay, so you can see clearly. Okay, so the next thing is, since this is a row now, I can center this part. So the main axis alignment dot center to center this in there. I'll come and deal with this, bringing this down later. So at this point, you would notice that this is saying centimeter for everything, but we need to have a way of changing this to be years, this to be kilograms and stuff. So this calls for us to go back to the constructor and create some final widgets. So we are going to say final, and I'll call this maybe text or label, I don't know, whichever. So I'll say label, and I'll go up here and then use this to add the final fields. Okay, so let me format that. So now what I can do is I can go back to where we have the centimeter and actually put in the label there. So now this is dynamic. So if I head back to the home screen, we can see that it is complaining. So what I can do here is call the label guy, and I can pass in cm, and then I believe I have to do this here too. So where weight has to be in kilograms, so this should be kg, going to be years. So I'm just going to use this, and I'll save this. So you get what we have going on now. Okay, so we are getting closer to the configuration that we need for our slider. Okay. we can make use of this width and height. So when I come here, so instead of using the width here, I'll just use the width here. Okay, now we can add this here, and then when we come here, this will also be the height, just like so. So this becomes more anything. Okay, that's because we need to add in another property that is going to help us with that issue. So we'll come back here, and then we'll call the cross-axis alignment, and then say cross-axis alignment. Wait, what did I just type? So cross-axis alignment, and then we have the cross-axis alignment dot baseline. These two are important. So for example, if I get rid of this and I save this, the app is going to crash, and it's basically because of the baseline not being available. Okay, the text baseline. So that's why I said the two go hand in hand. So, and you need to specify, and we normally use the alphabetic one since we are dealing with alphabetic characters. I'm going to save this, and boom, there you go, you have it right there. Now if you wanted, you could add some space into the widget to give it the breathing room. Probably we should do that. Okay, I didn't think of doing that, so let me just add in a size box, and then let's give the size box a width of, let's say I'm not sure, let's say 10.w. Does that work? Get rid of this. You know what, sometimes VS Code is quite annoying with all these pop-ups. I bet there's a way to get rid of it. So I'm going to save this, and that just gives us some slight breathing room. I think it's too much. I'm going to make this 5. Let's save, and I think that's okay for me. So we can head on back to the home screen, and we can now deal with the slider. So from the slider class, we can just call in slider. So you can see VS Code is helping us with all the things that we need. So many properties in here to use. So we would start with the slider and then figure out how this works. So VS Code, stop it. So I'm going to call the slider class and then open this up. Now the slider is going to require we provide quite a number of properties which you basically let us change a few things here. So the slider class requires that we provide a number of things, and it needs a value. Okay, that's number one. We'll talk about setting all of those up, but first we need to provide a minimum value. So the minimum value is, so let me go back to the design. The minimum value is the least this slider can go to. So if I wanted to say that this slider, the least or starting value is 100, then I can drag this and this will show us that it ends at 100. And then the max, if you would know, if you have min, they'll mostly be max. So the max will be the highest value this slider can go to, so maybe like 200 or something. So the min value here, I'm just going to hard code it. Okay, so I don't know what's the smallest age, height somebody could be in centimeters. You know what, I'm just going to put in 100 here, and you can tweak this as you wish. I'll make this and change this to max, and then the max here is going to be, what's the tallest somebody's, let's say 220. Okay, something like that. And I'm trying to get into the habit of adding extra zeros for doubles. And then after this, yeah, it's still complain about this value. Now the thing is, the value is going to represent what we see here. Okay, the value is going to represent what we see in here. So we are going to make a few changes. So you notice this 150. Okay, we are going to make a number of changes so that we can have this show in there and then can reflect. So I'm going to go way up into the class, and just below this class underscore home screen, I'm going to create a few variables. And you know what, I'm actually going to create all of them at once. So I'm going to start with the age, because I'm going to basically make sure that all of these are changeable, and we're going to need variables for that. Oops. So I'm going to say int, and then the age, as we have here, I'm going to give it 15, and then we're going to have, let's say, int weight also, and the weight, I'm going to give that 75. Now I am using ints here because I don't want to deal with having to get rid of extra zeros. That's just the reason, but you can totally go with doubles. And then I'm going to go with the int height here, and this is going to be, what's the height? 75. Wait, why am I getting confused here? Age is 15, so the height here, maybe we can give it a starting value of let's maintain the 150 right here. Okay, and yeah, so I think these three variables for now would help us do the trick. So first of all, I'm going to head on back to these places. So where we have value here, I'm going to literally take that off, so I can do something like this. So I'm going to go to value, that's for the age, and call age. Now age is an integer, so I need to convert it to a string. So I'll use the dot string property to make sure that that becomes a string. Same thing for our weight. So this 75 becomes I believe weight dot toString, just like so. And then finally we would have one here for the value. So this value, I believe, so this value here is going to be the height. So the same way, height dot to string. So, and one thing you have to realize is with the slider, when we move this, we need to also update this value. So essentially that value there is going to be the same value that this is complaining of, because it's the one we are going to be making the changes to as we drag the slider over there. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so what we'll do in here is I'm going to go down here, and now I can call the value, and I'll use the same value, which is the same height here. okay, but you can see here it is saying that the height type can be assigned to a parameter double. So here I can change this to a double by saying to double. Okay, so now the slider now is complaining that it needs a unchanged. Okay, and this was unchanged, this unchanged value is, so let me go ahead and put that in here and then say unchanged. So as we drag the slider and it is changing, we are going to receive a new value. Okay, so let me just call this new value. I'm going to call this new value, and then let me open this bracket. So basically when we start dragging the slider, we are going to be receiving a new value, and this new value is going to be captured inside here. And what we want to do is we want to say that, okay, that new value is going to be what we want this to be updated to. Okay, so when I drag my slider one step, I receive that new value, which is going to be it here, and I need to say that, okay, that new value we have gotten, I'm going to assign it to my height. Okay, so I'm going to say the height dot, instead of dot we need to say new value, so dot to int. Okay, because remember that's the height there is an integer, so we'll say dot to int, just like so. So again, let me save this actually, and let's see. So notice how we have our slider here. Okay, so when I start to drag this, notice how nothing is happening. Don't worry, we'll fix that. But all that this is saying is when I move this to the right, I get a new value here, and that new value, whatever it contains, just assign it back to this height, and that height, if I can find it, is this 150 that we see here. So that's how this is going to get updated. But why isn't this working? Okay, the reason is for us to be able to get this to work and know that, okay, when you drag this, the value is moving, everything, is to tell Flutter to rebuild this widget each time there's a change here, so that we can see that new change. It's basically how sort of, like, should I say, animations work. The screen has to be redrawn again, but computers are so fast you barely notice it. You just see the thing that needs to change. Okay, so to do that, we have to put this inside the set state, and you can have access to this set state only if you have a stateful widget. Okay, so if you remember in previous tutorials, we made this a stateful widget just because of this. Okay, I'm going to save this, and you notice how this quickly jumped to 173, and now when I move this, you can see the minimum value was 100 and the maximum value was 200, and you can see that we get the value updated just as it's supposed to be. So it's quite important you put this in the set state, or else you're going to pull your hair out because you've done everything right and it isn't working. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now we can customize this a little bit to meet our design spec here. Okay, so let's customize the slider a little bit. So the slider does have a few things we can do. So we can set the active color. Okay, so this active color, let me just actually put it in so that you see that. So I'm going to say colors dot let's go with white for now. So this is the active color. So the active color is the part, how do I put this? Should I say the selected part, if I can say that? So as you can see, and then per the design spec, it's almost the same, but this is a little bit darker. So we can also set the inactive color, and of course you guess which part that is going to be, and this is also going to be colors.white, and feel free to use any colors you feel like you want. But then if I save this, then this is all we have, so we haven't actually gotten that. What we can add to this is opacity. So we can say dot with opacity, and then the opacity value here we can tweak the 0.4. So I'm going to save this and see. Yeah, let me say 0.45. That's fine. Notice almost no change. Okay, so we can clearly see if I start increasing this, well, these don't work. Why is that? Because I didn't also put them in a set state. Okay, I just put the value there. So let's go ahead and fix that. So where are they? There it is. So this part is this value. So we also need to put these in set states so that when we change them, they can work. So remember this this BMI card, we don't have any unpressed property right here, as you can see. Okay, so what we can do is we can go back and then tweak the BMI card and look at where we have the buttons. And in fact, I just realized that functionality is inside the we could choose not to give it anything. Okay, so if I can simplify this, let's say you have a variable of type string, you know, that means it will have to take strings. It cannot take a null value. Okay, so if you wanted that string to be able to take a null value, then you would say string, something like this, and then put a question mark to make sure that that string can be nullable, like you can give it null. Okay, but as much as possible we want to try and avoid cases like this. That's just what I'm doing here. Okay, so that because the type here is a void function which is nullable. So now that we have this here, we can go back to the home screen and then deal with this BMI. So here we can come to the remove and then call in the unpressed here, and then this unpressed we now have to give it our function. So what I'm going to do is simply say that, and then in this set state, so this is disturbing because of this constant value. In this set state we just need to grab the age, and then since this is removed, we will just say age minus minus to subtract 1 from age. And you know what, I'm going to just grab this. I believe that's the end of it. Okay, it ends here. I'm going to grab this unpressed, and then I'll go to the add portion, and then I'll do the same thing for here. I'll paste this in here, and then make sure you remove this and make it plus plus before your code starts getting wonky. So it's left with this, so very similar. This is the remove part, so I'm going to get rid of this const, and then I'm going to simply paste this and then make this, so that's remove, so that's fine. And this is the add, so I'm going to paste this in here and make sure I set this to ++. So I forgot a comma here, and I'm going to save this. So assuming we've done everything right, wait a minute, that shouldn't be age. So this first one is age, all right. So this next part is the weight. So this should be weight, and this should be weight. Go to save this. So if I tap this, nothing is happening. So in a case like this, just make sure you are putting in the right values, which it seems like we are. So I'm going to rerun the application or to restart it. Okay, let's try that again, and now everything is working. So that happens sometimes when you change a lot of things at a go. You may just have to reload the app for it to take place. Okay, so essentially we have managed to create the slider, and I think I'll just chip in the last part here so that we can quickly complete this part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a measurement of this. So this is 43. So I'm going to grab this text from the Figma file, and then I'll go all the way down. I hope I'm on the right place. And so after the BMI card, so in the column, so there's a BMI card, I'm going to create a sized box. Come on, size box of height, and I don't need this comma. I'm going to, I've already forgotten what that value is, so let me check that again. So come on, give me the right value. So from this is just 43, so I'm going to give this a 43.h for the height, and then here I just need a text widget that is going to say what we copied, and it wants this to be a constant. Probably going to ignore it for the meantime. I'm going to save this. So you can see we have that value over there that says all those things. I'm not going to make this a const because I need to make some modifications here, and if I can, to prevent typing all of that, I'm going to go all the way up to the initial text we had here. I'm going to grab this text style, so this style all the way here, I believe. I'm going to grab that, and let me put a comma here and format this. Why won't you come down? Okay, I'll just leave that for now, and then I'll go all the way back down and then paste that here. I'm expected to find, okay, there we go. So sometimes you copy stuff and that happens. So when I save this, we have this showing just similar to that, and I think that's fine for me. So just making sure everything here is okay. The next thing we need here, I believe, is the button, and then we can close the chapter for this front page. So to do that, I should have just measured that. So I'm going to select this, hold the Alt key, and then point at this. This is 44. So I'll just grab the size box, copy it. So after this text widget, I'm going to paste this in there, and I'll just make this 44. We shouldn't really see anything crazy happening. Okay, so now to create our button, I'm going to use the size box and then give it the button as the child. So this is what I mean. I'm going to say size box, and I'm going to set the width to be a double dot infinity, so be as wide as you can, and then the height of this is going to be, so the height here is going to be 50.h, and let me put my comma here so that I don't forget about it later. So after that, then we can now provide the child here. I hope it will allow me format this. Nope, it's not working, so I need to finish up and then format it. So the child here is going to be an elevated. Okay, personally I really don't like these new buttons. They just take a lot to configure and it's just a personal thing. So to style this button, I'm going to call style, and the style here is going to be elevated button.style from. Okay, now inside here there are just a few confusing things. So we have primary, and this primary is your primary color, the color you want the button to be. So I believe that's the same one we've been using, so we can say theme dot of what just happened. So theme, come on. Okay, you know what, I'll just type dot of context dot, then we can use the primary color. Okay, then the text, the color of the text that is going to be on top of the button is going to be the on primary. So on primary we can say colors dot white. I don't like the way this is stretching a lot. So what's the problem here? So I have to provide a child for the elevated button. So this is what you are complaining of, and then the child here is going to be the text that is going to be on the button. Okay, so this child here is going to take a text property, and this we are going to say calculate, I believe, calculate. And what's your problem here? You need me to sort. Okay, so a whole lot of complaints, but that's good. I'm going to put this at the bottom here, and then where do I even put the on press? You know what, I'll put it on press here to stop all of these red lines. So I'm going to leave this for the meantime, and then we would go ahead and then style this part. So right now I'm just going to save this and let's see what we have. So right now we are overflowing some pixels. I'm going to take off this, save this for the meantime, and see what we have. Okay, so as it stands, I do not have enough space. Okay, because I remember I didn't adhere to some of the spacing from the design, and that's why. So what I would do to push this at the bottom is make use of a widget called spacer, and I'm going to make this const and save this. And basically this is quite smart. It is going to create a space, and then it knows, so where I'm putting this, it knows it has to push the button down. If we're in rows, it would push it to the other side. Okay, so we can have this calculate here. So this on primary, like I was saying, is the color for the text over there. Okay, so what's your complaint? You want this to be a const? Okay, I'm not going to make you a const because I need to make a few more changes to the styling of that text. Okay, so can I just try pasting? What was the last thing I copied? Okay, I remember the last thing I copied. So I'm going to grab this. I don't need the align center. I'm going to paste this in here. Let me save this and see what I have. I think that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to put a comma here and format this. Put a comma here and format this. Okay, that's much better. And we are almost done with it. In fact, we are done. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a new page. So I'll go to new file, then we'll call this the results screen .dart, and then here we are going to import material. So you can always type IPM IMPM, sorry. And then here I'm just going to create for now a stateless widget, so STL, and then we are going to call this the it cannot find result screen. Let me check my naming properly. So result screen, and I made this result screen. Okay, so let's refactor this. Tap on F2 on that, and I'll make this result screen so that when I click this, wherever I type, so my spelling is actually all bad, so I need to fix that also. Result screen, I believe this is it now. So let's see, control period, import the result screen, and this is a const, so I'm going to say const. Format this. Yeah, you expected to find this, right? So I'm going to give it that, and I'm going to put some spaces here just so this is well formatted. These are some of the, should I say, annoying parts about Flutter. You have just to navigate, I have to go through all of this, but anyway, doesn't matter. I'm going to save this.